Once upon a time, there was a peaceful kingdom that was ruled by a king and queen. One snowy morning, Queen gave birth to a girl, and they named the child Snow White. Snow White grows up and is loved by everyone in the kingdom. But one day, suddenly, the queen dies from an illness. Then one day, the king meets with a beautiful woman who wins the king's heart by magic, and he remarries. But the new queen is evil and only cares about power and her beauty. She keeps a magic mirror to which she always asks who is fairest of them all and replies with her name. She tells the king about an upcoming danger from the southern kingdom, and the king, with his army, goes into battle. Before leaving, he gives Snow White a locket to remind her to be brave and fair. The evil queen takes over the kingdom and makes ordinary farmers into soldiers loyal only to her. She steals the riches of the kingdom for herself and makes Snow White her servant. Snow White grows up as time passes by. One while doing chores, she suddenly hears something and checks it out. She sees a boy stealing potatoes. She asks him not to steal, but the boy says the queen has plenty and he and his friends are hungry, so he will take it. She says she will talk to the queen about their problem, but the boy ignores her and leaves. Snow White goes to the queen and asks her to do something as citizens are struggling. But the queen says the common citizen doesn't need any luxury. She tells her not to be weak like a flower, but strong like a diamond. Huntsman comes there with the boy and informs the queen that he caught him stealing. The queen asks if he is one of the bandits who live in the forest and fight in the name of the king. The boy smugly says he was their leader. The queen orders to take the boy into the dungeon and torture him. Snow White interjects and says they need to be fair so that the crime fits the punishment. The queen, hearing her, says to take the boy's coat and bind him to the gate to freeze. Snow White tries to stop him, but the queen stops her and orders her to do her chores. While working, Snow White sees the boy is freezing. She then goes and frees him and gives him half a bread. The boy asks her to come with him, but the guards are coming, so she tells him to run away, and he does so. The evil queen asks the mirror who is the fairest of them all, and the mirror replies the new maiden has arrived who is fairer than her, and it's Snow White. The queen calls the huntsman and tells her to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. Huntsman is hesitant as she is the princess, but the queen says she betrayed the kingdom by freeing the thief. He tells him to kill Snow White and bring her heart to her, and she will make him rich beyond his imagination. Huntsman takes Snow White into the forest. Oblivious Snow White starts to pick up the apples and offers him an apple. Huntsman brings out a knife to kill her, but he can't do it. He tells her that the queen wants her dead, and she should run to the forest as far as she can. She runs through the forest and encounters a monstrous tree. Trying to escape, she falls into the river. After coming to a riverside, she encounters a deer and offers him some food. As the deer takes the food, all the animals in the forest come to her. The deer led her to a small hut. She enters there, and the animal puts her to sleep. In the mines, the 7 dwarfs are mining gems. After their work is finished, they arrive at their hut. Seeing someone sleeping on their bed, they run away from the room, leaving behind Dopey, one of the dwarves. He then masters the courage to see who's sleeping. She finds Snow White. As she wakes and gets startled, Dopey runs. She then goes to him and asks his name, but he can't talk. Other dwarves barge into the room. Seeing she is human, stop. They ask her what she's doing here. She says her name is Snow White, and she starts to leave. Hearing her name, they understand it's the princess, and they go behind her and ask what she is doing here. She says the evil queen tried to kill her, so she must run away. But they offer her to stay until she figures out where to leave, except for Grumpy. They introduce their name in alphabetical order: Bashful, Doc, Dopey, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, and Sneezy. Snow White carefully remembers their name. In the castle, the queen asks the mirror the same question. The mirror replies that Snow White is the fairest of them all. The angry queen opens the box and finds an apple there. She orders his men to bring a huntsman and put him into the dungeon. She orders the captain to search the forest and bring Snow White. In the forest, dwarves get into fights with small inconveniences. They all make fun of Dopey, and he gets out of the hut. Snow White goes behind him and asks why he does not talk if he is afraid. She tells him if he can't talk, he should whistle and teach him. She enters the hut, and they are still fighting. She advised that they must learn to live together. Seeing the mess, she tells them they will together clean this mess. And if they do this while singing, the work will not feel hard. They all tidy up the place. She then says she must leave and find the bandits who fight in the name of the king. They may help her to find her father. Dwarves also need to go to work. They all go out of the huts. While wandering in the forest, suddenly the boy grabs her as the soldiers pass by. He asks her what she is doing here. She tells him everything and asks him if he knows where his father is. But he doesn't know anything about him. She asks his help to find him, as he can only restore the kingdom. But he says her princess way won't work here, as this place is harsh. Suddenly, his mates arrive there. He introduces her to his mates and says his name is Jonathan. Suddenly, the soldiers arrive there. They hide, and Jonathan tells Snow White to run. They will keep the soldiers busy. She wishes to fight with them, but they come out and say they know where Snow White is and tell her to run. As she runs, they charge to fight. Woodland's creature is helping Snow White to run, but she says they must help them and asks for their help. Jonathan and his mates soon get cornered by the soldiers. Snow White, from a distance, calls the soldiers. They run behind her as the bandits run away from there. The soldier arrives there and sees it's just her dress. Snow White reunites with Jonathan. A soldier has located Snow White and shot a crossbow at her. But Jonathan, saving her, gets wounded by the arrow. They take out the soldier. Snow White takes her to the dwarves, thinking they can help. But the dwarf says they don't know how to save him, but they will try. After some time, Jonathan comes out healed. They all rejoice and enjoy each other. Where Jonathan and Snow White understand their feelings for each other. Suddenly, they heard the soldiers. He tells his mates to divert them. He tells Snow White they will find his father and come back here. She gives him his locket to remember her by. In the jungle, Jonathan gets captured by the soldiers. They take him to the evil queen. Upon inquiry, Jonathan says he doesn't know where Snow White is. But the queen sees the locket and takes it. She asks the soldier where they found him. After hearing the location, she orders them to put him into the dungeon. She then goes to her room and makes a potion. After drinking it, she converted into an old woman. She then takes an apple and puts it into a potion named Death by sleeping, and the only antidote is true love's kiss. She then gets out of the castle into the woods. The dwarfs are leaving for their work, and Snow White has decided to go and look for her father. The evil queen, disguised as an old woman, arrives at the hut. She knocks on the door, and Snow White comes out. Sensing the danger, the birds go to inform the dwarfs. The queen says that Jonathan has sent her because he was captured by the queen. To prove it, she shows him the locket. Snow White runs to help him when she offers her an apple, saying it will help her on the journey. The dwarves get the information from the birds and rush towards the hut. Queen says he knew her father, and he was a very noble and kind man, and tells him to consider the apple as repaying his kindness. Snow White takes the apple and bites it. She soon falls sick. Queen then says that she knew her father, and it was very easy to make him dead. Snow White falls to the ground unconscious. The dwarves arrive, but the queen has vanished, and Snow White is unconscious, lying on the ground. In the castle, the mirror tells the queen she is the fairest of them all. In the dungeon, Jonathan is trying to free himself. Beside him, the huntsman says it is no use as he already tried it and it won't work. Jonathan says that he was like him without any hope, but after meeting Snow White, he knows what it is like to fight for hope with courage. Hearing this, huntsman gets up and helps him to pull the chain, and Jonathan can break free. He then completely freed himself. Together, they leave, and huntsman tells him where he can find the horse. With the horse, Jonathan arrives and finds Snow White lying dead beside her dwarfs and woodland creatures mourning. He sits beside her and momentarily kisses her. She then wakes up, and they rejoice with each other. She then tells him that her father was killed by the queen, and now it's up to them to fight the evil queen. Dopey talks for the first time and says he is not afraid anymore. Snow White comes to the kingdom. Everyone sees the princess and rallies behind her towards the castle. The guards come to stop them. The queen has now come out. Snow White confronts her, saying she killed the king to steal his kingdom. The queen addresses the crowd, says they don't need a ruler who is soft like a flower, but instead needs a ruler strong like a diamond. She then gives her a knife and tells her that if she wants the kingdom, she must kill her. But Snow White won't do it. She takes the knife and gives it to a guard and orders him to kill her in front of the crowd. Snow White calls the guard by his name and says he used to be a farmer and he has a wife. He then also called other guards by their names and told them to remember their older profession where they were happy. She addresses all to remember the time of her father when they were truly happy. The soldiers, one by one, say they remember and put down their weapons. The angry evil queen tries to stab Snow White with a knife, but the knife gets struck by an arrow and falls to the ground. Jonathan and his man came to the rescue. Dwarves also arrive at the castle. The queen runs to her room and asks who is the fairest of them all. The mirror says she can never be fair like Snow White because her beauty comes from within. She angrily breaks the mirror and sees her magic is diminishing, and she gets sucked into the mirror. All bow to Snow White as their queen, and they all live happily ever after. So this was the recap of the movie Snow White 2025. For more recaps like this, stay subscribed. Check out our other videos as well.